G'day viewers, welcome to another super cool, super helpful repair video from the Goat Shed, located in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. Today is Wednesday, June the 4th, 2025. It's 13 degrees Celsius outside, which is 55.4 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a rather chilly day and there's light rain. You can probably hear that hitting our tin roof a little bit. Sorry about that, but that's just the way it's going to be. Now, just before we go on and tell you what we're going to do today, you can sort of get a bit of an idea. We're looking at a score motor there. Please consider subscribing to our channel. We'd greatly appreciate that. We are monetised. We do earn a little bit of money out of this off YouTube, but we need to make a whole lot more to keep the Goat Shed going. Don't we, Spanky? So, the humble Gottlieb score motor. Now, the owner of this game wants the score motor all cleaned up, and the frame is very dirty. You can kind of see all the... He wants it to be nice and shiny. He's not going to get it chrome, but he's asked us to clean it up, and he's prepared to pay for our time to do that. We're going to take the cam out, and we're going to take all the switch stacks off the score motor, and that way we'll be able to get to the whole frame, put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, give it a clean, probably a bit of auto sol on it, and make it all nice and pretty again. Now you can see that there's varnish being put onto the motorboard. We varnished that quite some time ago, and we're just in the process of going through this now, because this is going to be in our pin fest. Did I mention this is Abracadabra from 1975, and we will be doing a whole video on the game. It's already had a cabinet repaired and stenciled and everything, new back glass. So we'll do a whole video when we're troubleshooting the game.
It's going to be a pretty game.
Yes, it is. It's going to go in our pin fest in September. Alright, so the first thing we've got to do is... What are you up to, Graham? You want to take the stacks off now?
Yeah, I'm
ready to jack it up?
I'll take this pin out just in case I've got to lift it up.
So there's a pin in there, and that allows you to lift the score motor up now, like that. He'll have a block of wood handy, so he's just going to start undoing screws. And at the moment, he's working on stack 1D, is it? I can't see. Is that 1D? Yeah, 1D.
Yeah, 1D, yeah.
Now, just as revision for you, the cams, where the teeth are down the bottom is level A, where the studs that point through the top cam is level B. You can just see the top of a stud there, that's for level B. And this cam here is level C. This stud pointing up here is level D, and if it's a taller stud, it's level E. We've done a whole video on demystifying score motor. Now, he's got the first one undone. Now, what he's going to do now, he's already pre-made some tape, or pre-cut some tape to wind around the screws.
You can also use rubber bands if you want to.
Yes, he's taken photos, and
we'll just keep going until we can't get something, then we'll go another direction.
And he's even made some little labels for what switch level they go on, haven't you?
For the ones with the split.
Yeah, that's them. Yeah.
We can illustrate that.
So the split is where this part of the frame divides the switch stack. So you've got to get those right. We'll show you what we do there.
Right, now this one's got a dog carrier on it.
Now the other thing you've got to be aware of is some of these stacks, switch stacks, have a jumper wire going to the stack underneath, and if you break that, you've got to be aware of it. Now, we've actually taken a number of photos of the score motor just in case we have a problem. Hopefully we won't, but you know, we do recommend that you do this. Now, this isn't something that I would recommend a beginner do. We don't do this very often at all. And we'll be actually getting it to a point where we'll be removing the whole cam up and out of the machine.
So
now a little later on, this is the cradle here, and there's a split pin in there. We'll be able to take that out, and there's one on the opposite side, and we'll be able to lift the whole cradle out. You can just see, I'll just get the camera around a bit. You can just see there's a Jones plug just here. That takes that's for the motor, that just comes out. So we can take that out. They're a great thing because if you're doing or diagnosing a problem and the score motor switches are involved, you can actually take that out and sit it in the one with no wire on it next to it, and you can, with the power on, you can turn the score motor and things will happen.
Yeah.
Very, very good diagnostic tool. We even put those in some games that haven't got them. To help
I think the big door machines have got them and the little door ones haven't, mainly.
Okay, I've never really paid any attention, but that might well be true.
Okay. All right.
Now some of these have nuts on them and they're 1/4 inch and some don't, so it'll take that top stack off.
And as you can see, that switch there's bent, but we're not worried too much about that at the moment.
Yeah, that got bent. I think the owner caught it with the power cord or something.
We'll blame him anyway, Kim.
Blame him, yeah. And with the 1/4 inch ones that we can't get at, we've got a little socket that we'll be able to put on there.
On the side.
On the side. So never fear. But often you can undo the screws and they'll just come loose anyway.
Yeah. Well, you can see there's nuts on these ones here, but you couldn't get it until you could took off the stacks on stack 1.
Yeah.
Unless you use that sidewinder one.
Now the other thing we will do, we wouldn't normally do this, but we will do on this one, we'll get the Dremel tool and we'll Dremel all the switches. Now, the stack he just took off here is 2C, and I can't emphasise it enough. There's 2 holes here. That's the short throw, and that's the long throw. The motor stack 2C is the only one in the long throw position, and that's evident by the fact that this dog, cam dog, is almost level with the dog carrier. If it's in the shorter position, it sits down lower. Stack 2C is timed off the second tooth of motor 1A. And a classic example, if someone pulls this apart and the dog falls out, they look at all the others and they make an assumption that it's going to go in the other position down here. No, that's not the case. That throws the timing out. And one thing you'll notice, or the first obvious symptom of that, if you've got 4 credits on a game and you press the replay button and it subtracts 2 credits, that's a fair indication that there's something wrong with motor 2C, because it's getting that extra pulse off the first tooth. Remember, 2C is timed off the second tooth of score motor 1A.
Right, now we've got this ready to go, Kim, if you want to.
Rightio, so what you're going to do,
so
what he's going to do.
This switch is 2B, so I've got a tag already 2B written out, nothing too fancy.
Okay, so here he goes, he's got...
And then we'll pull this switch apart, put that back together.
He's got 2B.
And then Kim will put that in between.
Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put that in there, like that.
Doesn't have to be pretty. Squeeze it together and we'll put a nut or 2 on it.
Okay, does that make sense, everyone?
And that way we know where the split is and what stack it's off.
This is to make your life easier.
Because you don't want switches flying everywhere in the same. Where did that go?
Exactly, you don't.
So, it looks a bit dramatic, but yeah.
What do they say, Graham? It was made by man, so it could be fixed by man.
That's right.
Absolutely. That rain stopped now, so you viewers won't have to put up with that little pitter patter on there.
So now we've got that stuck out the way, we can get to these screws. So sometimes you got to get a stack out of the way
to get to another set of screws. Yeah. So it's just a matter of procedure, you know, just looking at what you've got to do and using a bit of common sense. Just don't rush into it. Think about it.
Yeah.
Have a look. See what you've got to do. And as I said, because the stacks are out, it'll just make it easier to Dremel them. And we'll do that. Now, we've done a video, and it also allows you to see if you've got a loose and spinning contact pad. Now, that can happen on switches where they're pressed onto the switch blade. They loosen up and they spin round and they lose electrical contact. And the score motor 1C, the inside switch, the motor run switch or the motor assurance switch, if that gets a loose and spinning contact pad, it'll stop short. Now, just over the last few days in the Facebook group, we've had a few people mentioning they've had that problem, and we're waiting for them to come back, but it's quite possibly that's what the issue is. So, you know, he's only been doing this now about 11 minutes, and he's already got half the score motor switch stacks off.
Now this one's a bit more complicated because we've got to join an actual jump from the top switch stack to the bottom one.
So what he's saying, this switch stack here has a wire link joined to the switch stack underneath it, and that's stack 4C, so there's one going down to 4B.
Which we've got a tag already, which is actually it's got a spacer in it.
Righto, so there's his tag again.
Remember, it's small because you can't put a big one in.
Yeah. And all we're doing this is to make this pretty.
Yeah.
Crazy, aren't we? But we're confident enough in ourselves.
We actually had done one of these a long time ago on a big Indian.
We did.
Yeah.
I don't think we were into videos then.
I think we just took pictures for our Facebook.
Yes, for our Facebook group.
Yeah. Right now. Right.
Now, just something I want to point out while Graham's doing that. See, this is where the switch stack for 2C is screwed on. I'm pretty sure you can all see that. That's bent. Now, it's not catastrophic, and it's twisted. It's sort of twisted around, like, not to a great degree. So what we'll do, we'll get the big pair of pliers, big duck bills, these things, a little later on, and you've got to have the big ones with the big jaw because it's a wide area, and we'll try and straighten it up a little bit.
Okay, so
what the downside of that can be, he's got his, there you go, he's got that, that's 4B, he's got the little bit of
I've got my tag on.
Tag in there. I think the owner's around somewhere. We'll make him all nervous.
Yeah. You want to get that autosol ready?
Yeah. Oh, that's what we forgot to do. We'll have to unsolder, more than likely.
Oh, we can turn it on, ready to go.
Unsolder
We've got
the motor.
And
so that one's already out. So we just got to take the common off.
So the course on C's always got a dog carrier. And we'll wrap that around the best we can. It's basically so they don't fall apart, but some of these have been that on, they never will fall apart.
The other thing you've got to look out for, these white spaces, sometimes they often break and fall off. So if you're not sure, you've just got to watch how the stacks work. You say, well, if there's no spacer there, that switch isn't possibly going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to miss them. So there he goes with a 1/4 inch spin tight on the back of that, and this is another split one. This switch stack is on an angle, on a 45-degree angle, and that's always stack 3. So if you're not sure, and then you can work back 3, 2, 1, or 3, 3.5 for the motor brake, and 4. That's the way to remember.
Right, we've got a tag ready.
Another tag, 3D.
3D, which is correct, I think, Kim.
3D, that's D, that one, yeah, because it's above C. Got to stop and think about these things sometimes. Graham gets his hands dirty today.
Well, at least they're not bleeding like usual.
We went on site yesterday. We don't normally do that, but
We had a special.
we had a special request to go and fix a machine for a guy. And anyone that saw our Facebook group page, that guy was Australian pop icon from the 70s and 80s, John Paul Young. We went to his house. He only lives about 20 minutes from us here. He lives up the other way now and has done for 35 years. And
You wouldn't meet a nicer bloke.
we're going to do he's going to get his men's shed. They want to do a podcast with us in the near future, and he's going to bring some of his mates from his men's shed around here, and we're going to talk to John about pinball and how he's been interested in it since the 70s, and a little bit about his music career for any of you fans. That's probably more for the ladies, I suppose. But, you know, one famous song, Love is in the Air, was in the movie
Strictly Ballroom.
Strictly Ballroom.
Okay.
How are we going? We got all the stacks off yet?
Well, we've got to take this one and the brake.
And the brake. This is a part that is often overlooked. It's the motor switch brake. Now, it's got no solder lugs on the end. It's just screwed onto the frame there, just here. And its idea is to arrest the motor after just as 1C breaks. That's the inside switch on the cam brakes, so that the switches aren't overrun or underrun. They do break at about the middle there quite often. It's not catastrophic when they do. However, you can get away with it, but we often replace them if they are broken. We do have a couple of spares here. So there's a lot of conjecture whether it has to be there. Well, it's put there by the factory, so yeah, it has to be there. But if it does break, will it be catastrophic to any problems? Not necessarily, but it's possible that it could be. Now we've got the whole motor assembly out now. Here we go. So this is the frame. Just better get back here. This is the frame. This is the motor cam. Now the motor cam is held on. There's a screw just in there. I've got my screwdriver on that. I'll just loosen that. There should be, is there two? There should be two.
Should be two. No, this one.
No, only got one.
Well, the older 60 ones or something.
Yeah, a lot of the older ones have two, so we'll just loosen that. These studs here.
You might have to take it out altogether, Kim.
Yeah, these studs here, they're the studs of the I was talking about. They're 2B. I'll just take that screw right out just in case. I don't think it's in a hole, but can't remember. So out that comes. Got that out.
Okay.
I'll put that over in there.
Okay.
What he's going to do now, he's just going to get a punch.
Well, if you can hold the cam.
Yeah, I'll hold it.
Another cam like that.
Yep, the cam up.
Yep.
This is where two people come in handy. Bit more, nearly off.
There we go. That's done. Now we've just got to take those three screws out and the motor will come out.
See these three screws here? And that's why these holes are in the top. That hole there, so you can get at the screws.
But we don't need that now.
We don't need that because we've got the whole frame out. So just remember that. Did you know that? Did you know why that hole was there, everyone? Should have had an exam.
Yeah. Usually these are pretty tight, but they're loose. There we go.
Right, so one filthy, dirty frame.
And here's the rest. Again, there's the date, 1175.
Oh, there you go, and that's the that's the. Now these motors all came from Multi Products, and they were, I think they were in Michigan, I think, which isn't all that far from Chicago. Next state across, actually, and you know, they're different ones. Now PBR sell all the parts for these. But if you contact Steve Young about them, what you got to do, you got to measure the distance between there and there, that there to there, and apparently that has a lot to do with it. The style of motor. You can see a bit of dried up grease in there, so we're going to clean that. We'll get that with Kero and give it a good clean, and then we can oil the pads, both sides. One side is impossible to get at because it's bolted to the frame, but we'll oil it both sides. And fix all that up.
And I've got to clean all the switches and
all the switches will be get cleaned with a Dremel.
While we've got a chance.
I got my hand dirty, Graham. That's no good. What's going on here? Good God.
It's unusual for you.
It is. Yeah. Got them dirty yesterday too. I don't know.
You'll have to see the union about that.
I will. Yeah, I will. So what we're going to do now is clean it all up, and we'll be putting that back together. So it's not difficult to do, as you can see. That's your frame that holds the motor in. That's go in the cleaner as well. And generally what I do, see how that loose dirt's on there? I'll get a toothbrush with a bit of kerosene and loosen that up a little bit before I put it in the cleaner. Same with here. I'll probably do the same thing there.
Should turn out okay, I think.
It'll turn out real nice. You might lose his numbers off there, but whether he wants to make new ones or not, I don't know. It goes in that way.
Yeah.
So
it's not buckled.
Where's that number 2? It was
it. 2's there.
Oh, here it is. Yeah,
you can see it's.
You can see it bent
and twisted.
And the other's not too bad. That one's all right. Big tall ones. It does happen. Like they get bent, but we have seen them where people in the field have bent them for some unknown reason, which isn't really all that good. And here's your cam again. Once again, teeth, 5 teeth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 120 degrees apart. So level A, studs here, level B, level C, level D, and level E if it goes up. There's no level E on this one. All right, here we go. Let's clean it all up. All right. Everything's done in the ultrasonic cleaner. We've given a bit of a polish up with Autosol. I mean, look, it's come up a whole lot better than what it was.
Yeah, we didn't buff it because
we didn't buff it on the soft buff wheel, but it's nice enough so we can put it back together. Look, the score motor, we've lubed that and cleaned it all up. Got all the dried up grease off it with Kero. The motor sits on it perfectly now. Goes on and off.
Yeah, it was a bit how you do before.
Filed down where the screw had been a little bit on the flat. There's a flat there. I don't think we pointed that out before. You can still see where the screw goes slightly, but just got that all fixed up. Now it's time to put everything back together. So that's just going to sit on there like that. Graham will put the 3 screws in now. Just while he's doing that, there's the cradle. That came up quite nice. All the switches have been cleaned with a Dremel. Not taking him long to do that.
No.
We oiled the pad. There's a pad on the motor under there which you can never get to. I mean, that's the idea of those screws, but no one ever lubes it. So there's one pad here, oil dampener pad, and there's one
on that side.
On this side under there. They're all oiled. We've oiled everything up. He'll pop that cam back on, and he'll have to get that on the screw on the flat. There it is. Click.
All right, so
here's the flat side here, you can see.
Yeah.
Righto, he's got that back on. You just normally put the top of the cam level with the spindle, roughly. Does it have a bit of up and down play? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, not too much. He'll tighten that up now.
Okay.
That spin tight, that's the small one. That's the 3/16, that one.
Remember, we can still adjust it up and down once we get
it in the machine if we need to.
Yeah.
All right, so what we'll do now, we'll
go down the pub.
Oh, can we?
Yeah.
It actually is Wednesday. It's pub day for me anyway. So just pop that back in there. You'll get the big pliers to spread the apart. I'll help you. That goes up and down now. Now, systematically, we're just going to put every back together. He's going to do the motor brake now. Oh, he's putting the pins in first so it doesn't move on him.
Yeah, it's just a bit easier.
Always remember, you've got to put the Jones plug back in. We've got to solder that wire on. Here's a Jones plug here. Just pop that back in so we don't forget. Got to remember to solder that wire on. Motor brake first, and then he'll keep going systematically.
Pretty well opposite to what we took it off. If you can remember.
If you can remember, just about to say if you can remember. I think the thing to remember is the fact that you'll recall there was when he gets his arm out of the road. It's all right. There were some screws on this stack here you could only get at with the other stacks off. So that stack will have to go on
last,
sort of beforehand, you know. Well, not last.
Well, this is. See, we can't put that stack on until we get this stack on because it's going to be in the way of getting these nuts on. Oh
yeah, of course. So there you just got to look at it, as I said, and figure it out. They're all a bit different. There's no set rule. All score motors have different switch stacks on them. Remember, we spoke about level D, which is here, and level E, which isn't here, and various things like that. So
we can take this off for now.
The good news is the numbers stayed on there. Like, not that it bothers us, but it just makes it look a bit better.
Yeah.
And that's the one with the join in it, Graham. Is it? It's linked together. Yeah, I was careful of that. All the switches, as I said, were Dremeled. It's not something I recommend people do to every motor switch if you're inexperienced, because as we put the stacks back on, we'll be checking that everything is correct.
Yeah. And remember that the holes that are blank are the ones where the nuts are on. So if they've got
a thread, they screw direct in.
Anyone with a thread hasn't got the nuts on it.
So that's got a thread there. And where's one? And that one there doesn't have a thread, so that'd have nuts on to hold it on.
That's right.
I mean, you soon work that out, people. I mean, it's not rocket science once again, but you'll certainly know if you've made a blue or a blue. That's a Australian
slang for stuff ups.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I forget sometimes we say these things and people haven't got a clue what we're talking about. So he's just going to put all this back in now. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's, I don't believe it's necessary.
It's a bit tedious.
It is a bit tedious. It's a bit fiddly to get it all in. You've got to watch out you don't lose any insulators. If you do, keep your eye on what you're doing. And we'll show it to you all back together. The only thing he'll check as he puts each one in that they're opening and closing right.
Yes.
That's important. So this is level B that he's doing here. This is level 4B for Barry. It's operated off the studs. A lot of 4B switches you can't see because the other stack 4C's on top of it. So he's just going to set all that up and he'll check all that. He's dropped something there.
Oh, as he does.
Magnetic screwdriver will fix that up.
You'll always have a few issues. But
yeah, it doesn't go perfectly smoothly.
Oh, we'll get there.
But the whole idea of this was, of course, is that we've now got a really clean motor when you look in down at the motor. As I said, it's just a cosmetic thing. We could have got a toothbrush and cleaned it with Kero and that from the top, but
it's a good chance to probably clean the switches anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This is a bit of a showpiece in this chap's collection. I think it's his favourite machine.
Yeah, could.
Is that right?
Possibly.
He's out there somewhere, he probably didn't hear me. But we don't worry about jobs like this, you know. You've seen us before. We've pulled apart entire trip banks and rebuilt them because one was rusty on that target pool.
Yeah.
This is all par for the course. There's Spanky having a look, make sure everything's going well. And it is. The other thing you've got to be sure of, viewers, is when you're, and that's what Graham's doing now, he's making sure all the switches are not on an angle, you know, they're touching, the whole face of each switch is touching.
And each pad on each switch is touching flatly, so it's not half a pad's touching or nothing like that.
Yeah, you don't want that. So this is a good way to do it. It takes a little bit of time.
But if you don't do it,
you could pay for it. And that's what we say.
And you could get a top switchblade touching the bottom switchblade.
That's possible too, we've seen that. As I said, this is not something that you would do if you're a beginner. Definitely do not do it. It is not necessary. We feel we're experienced enough to be able to do it.
And if we bugger it up, Spanky could take over.
He can. So this switch stack here is got a join to this one here, and it's only a short little join. What we're going to do, we're going to unsolder the join to make it easier to get this back in. So that is necessary sometimes. So he'll just do that and he'll be able to manoeuvre that back into the position a lot easier.
Yeah.
There you go, he unsoldered it, made it a little bit easier because one of the insulators on the inside of the dog there fell off. Now he's got it first go. So
sometimes you've got to do things to make it life easier.
Make your life easier, make work a bit easier. Work smarter, not harder. Now, he's got that stack on, and at this juncture, it's a good time to check whether we've got the cam at the right level. In other words, whether we've got to loosen that screw and move it up or down a little bit. And what we're virtually looking for is to look at the dog carrier is roughly in the centre here. Like the height of it is okay and it's not hitting the bottom stack or anything. And that the dog carrier, which is this piece here, isn't impeding the dog. So the dog is the thing that when the cam moves around, it pushes the switches open or closed. And it's looking okay, isn't it, Graham?
It's looking good.
Yeah.
We just got a couple of adjustments.
And you can probably see if we spin that round. Now, this always goes, the score motor turns in the anti-clockwise direction. You can kind of see that there's the gap between there and there is the same. So that's pretty good. He's done well.
Right, I just got to solder that back up.
All right, we'll let him do that. We hope you're enjoying this little video. This is one we've been planning on doing for a while and we just haven't really had the opportunity. I mean, as we said earlier, we've created a little bit of extra work for ourselves, but you can see the result is quite outstanding. So he's on to stack 3 now and he's going to be doing 3D, and remember that's the level of the studs there. So if you are enjoying this video, please give us the thumbs up to say you like the video. Consider subscribing to our channel and even consider giving us a super thanks. for making the video for you. You know, if everyone who watched this video would even give us $2, that goes towards our slush fund to buy more things. We sort of ran out of money the other day, and it all goes quickly. We bought nearly $200 worth of cleaning products and some extra screwdrivers. And it comes out of our own pockets. We don't have any working capital. This was a fairly simple one. It's split. And that's why we had the little bit of paper in there saying 3D. Because you can now see the metal of the frame sticking up there. And it's also important that you get these switch blade forms okay. But this, make sure they're not too bent, you know, and we'll try that by spinning the motor around. You tighten that up. Now, I guess the next one you're going to do is that one...
Well, we're going to do the one underneath it.
Oh, there's one underneath it, is there?
Yes.
Right. Where's that? Yeah, oh, there it is.
It's here somewhere.
It's right here.
It's hiding.
Oh, hang on. I may have missed doing... Oh, no, I dremeled it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was there.
You can kind of see, people, where you Dremel. You can see how shiny the switch blades are. And because this is a short throw, see the short, it's in short throw position there, not long throw. Quick question, which is the only switch stack on a Gottlieb that is in the long throw position? I'll let you think about that for a minute. Who's got the answer? It's 2C. 2C. So there's, and this is the one that's a bit bent. So we're going to try and straighten that up in a moment too.
Okay. Well, one of these pads was a bit off, so I just thought I'd do it now while I got the chance.
Oh, okay. There, he found a pad. Not quite.
Just keep your eyes open all the time.
Touching properly, you know, not square.
You do it now, it's going to save you drama later.
Yeah, of course.
So
the only good news is it's easier to get at that stack, isn't it?
Yeah, and check all the ones you've done so far.
You check each one as you go. That's probably the best advice we can give you. So now he's going to do this
3C.
3C. 3C goes level with the cam. And there's no nuts on this one, so it'll go...
It'll screw in.
Into a screw-in hole. Just lining this one up. We've just got one screw finger tight. Now we can pop this one in here. Oh my God, I've got to do some work. I don't like this. Good. Graham's just checking them. Spin it round.
So there, it's got to go down a smidgen.
Well, I'm a bit tight then. It's down.
Yeah.
I just turned it off. Did you need to answer that? Or?
No, it's a swindle scam.
Oh. We right?
Yeah, actually, I think the actual cam will go up a smidge because you can see that's on a bit of an angle going down.
Yeah, okay.
You look. See what you think.
You mean this switch is up in the air a bit.
Well,
This switch is up in the air, and the dog. Yeah, okay. So
no, I think that's got to go up on the end, and the actual cam can go up a smidgen.
rightio. So this has got to come up here.
Yeah.
Have I got this on? Yep. Wasn't sure if I had that on. Right. I'm just going to loosen that.
Okay.
Rightio.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep.
Just fine tune. Oh, it went down then.
No, I moved it.
Fine tuning a bit. Now we're just debating whether we've got to lift the cam up a little bit. I think it's okay, to be honest.
Well, you're not. It's on it, but I think we can get a bit more meat on it.
All right. Okay. We could do that. So it's just lifting that cam up like 0.5 millimetre.
Because you can actually see on the cam dogs where the actual cam was.
You can, that's right.
And well, if you're not sure, just try to get it in the centre as much as you can. But you've got to make sure the dog is not catching the dog carrier.
Indeed.
And that'll give you grief if it is.
How's that?
It's pretty good.
You better with that?
Yep.
All right.
Just check the other switches. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Get away with that? All right. This stack here is still looking okay?
Yep.
All right, we'll carry on. So now he's doing stack 2B for Barry. He'll make sure all his switches are straight. And some 2Bs, 2B is the stack that they use primarily for holding circuits on, like the start relay and a few other things in a holding circuit. So it's very important that we get these switches right. Now, 2C, of course, which is this stack here, this is the one that's in the long position. Did we answer the question before, 2C? And what I'm referring to here again is it's the only one in a Gottlieb that goes in the long position. That's the short position. Every other one goes in that position, that goes in the long position. Now, I've probably said this 3 times, but it's critically important. I think we had about 2-3 repairs here late last year in a row where they're in the wrong position. One was a pro football, and the guy, every time you scored, what was it? I think 200 points, or can you remember what it was? 300 points, 500 points?
Yeah, 300.
It scored 400 because it was getting that extra pulse. I think some of the lanes on it played 300.
Yeah.
So that's what was going on there.
But needed to be done.
So you can see Graham's now got his little angle tool in there and with the 1/4 inch on it. Very important to have the right tools, folks. Once again, people that are just starting off, amateurs, you know, you may not have these tools.
And we'll just check these switches. These are very important, as Kim said. If 2B's out, can cause all sorts of dramas. Yep.
So on here we have how many normally closed? They're all normally closed except the outside switch.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 normally closed switches and a normally open. And the one that's normally open probably breaks the circuit to one of the hold-ons. So here he is now going to put 2C on. Who's bored to death yet? Anyone? I know I am. It's nearly lunchtime. The owner's going to get an overtime bill. He doesn't care though. He's really, really rich.
Yeah, it doesn't bother him at all.
Yeah. So what did Robin Hood do? He took from the rich and gave to the poor. So this is what this fella's doing. We're poor. We're just poor pinball mechanics.
He doesn't seem to mind.
Nah. Can you ever hear the rain on the tin roof? I suppose it's a little bit annoying, but it stopped for a while. Oh, look at that, Graham. You're going well now.
Yeah.
Tightening it all up. Okay, we're just adjusting that switch blade that was bent badly. Fixing that up. And then we've only got stack 1 to do. So we're almost home and hosed. Righto, carrying on. We decided that we still weren't 100% happy with this stack here. And you recall earlier in the video we mentioned how this part of the frame was a little bent. Well, in fact, we'd forgotten to straighten that out. And we've now done that. And we're a lot more happier with the gap here. So what we were concerned with was the fact that, let's have a look here. The distance between the dog and the edge of the cutout was a little wide. So we've adjusted it to, well, when we say we've adjusted it, we've bent that in a bit more. It was a bit bent and twisted. It's hard
weren't happy with it, so
to get them exact, but we just weren't happy with it. Now, earlier in the video, Graham's about to put on stacks 1, Earlier in the video, I made the statement that the multi-products motors that are in these machines were made in Michigan. Look, that was incorrect. When reviewing the video, I clearly saw stamped on the actual motor casing, the cast bit, it says they're made in Racine, Wisconsin. Now I looked that up, and it turns out Racine, or Racine, however you would say it, is only 60 miles north of Chicago. So I guess by road that was just a little over an hour's drive, when they had to get deliveries and things. And it's also on Lake Michigan. And it's about the 5th largest city in Wisconsin, so there you go.
I'm just going to fix that.
Right.
We're going to see.
What's up with that?
Oh, the grooves. I'm just going to
all right.
I've just got to put axle blade through it.
What he's got a screw here. I'm going to try and, there it is.
It's been
the
flogged.
groove isn't real good, so we're going to get a hacksaw blade and make a bigger groove in that. Sometimes you've got to do those things. Lots of different size screws there. We have some, but I don't know that we have that one.
Oh, we'll get one off a red bud.
We might, or we could always take one off another
just
score
take a
motor.
second, so.
Now here's a classic example of what I was talking about earlier on in the video with these little white spaces. This is stack 1A we're looking at here. Now Graham, I've given him, so there's a white space, and now we're missing one. Show them where.
That's where it should be.
It should be on there.
We just noticed that as we were...
Just noticed it. We see how wide that gap is there on that middle switch and the other switch.
Look, and then we just did, no, as soon as
there's nothing happening.
No.
So he'll turn the cam for you so you can see, just slowly.
But the first switch will need it adjusting anyway. But
yeah, see the middle switch and the other switches, nothing's happening.
Not a sausage.
So, all right, we're going to have to pull that off again now, and we'll
put a new spacer on.
We'll put a new spacer on. We got those.
Shouldn't be too hard.
Graham's over there now working on that stack. What we decided to do, we had an old spare part motor there, so we've taken the actual part we need off that and just refurbished that, give it a bit of a clean up, get it in focus. That's the switch we need, and there's the separator's already on it. So that was simpler for us to do. It was the one right in the middle, so just made it awkward to do.
Right.
Always good to have plenty of spare parts. There's just an old score motor frame we've got, and we get things off it from time to time. So Graham's just pulling apart the switch stack, and you'll note down here he just pulls everything out in order, and then it's just got to reverse it when putting it back together. Once again, even if you need to take a photo of it, that may help you. Now, another thing I didn't mention while you're doing all this, it's a good idea to grab hold of the wires and give them a tug and a twist and a pull to make sure none are loose. It's very common to get, old solder joints go bad and they just fall off. So always do that as well. You got your stack here. We'll just see if there's any bad joints visually and by tugging it and twisting it.
Right. Now we're going to show what we're going to do here.
Okay, what are you up to?
Well, I've decided not to solder it. I'm just going to jump it.
Oh, all right.
Which...
So what he's saying is that he's going to use the old end of the...
No, hang on. No, I've decided against that.
No?
I think it's going to be easier to solder it.
All right, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
By jumping, what we mean is that you get the end of the old switch and you put the new one over the top, so you've still got the soldered lug there and they join together.
Yeah.
You see that a lot. It can save you time, but this is stack 1A, so I think he's erred on the side of caution.
Yeah.
It's an important stack.
Yep. Well, we just got to wait up for the soldering iron to heat up. Oh, it's not on.
Well, it helps if you turn it on. Yeah. All right, we'll do that, eh? Let that happen.
Yep.
So he's just tinning that new replacement switchblade now, ready to fit in.
Just makes life easier. Okay.
So it's a bit hard to get in there and show you exactly what he's doing, but those of you that have ever pulled these apart know that you've just got to be patient and take your time. You can sort of see a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to show it all to you because it's just
no need to.
Boring. Just unsoldering the old wire now, and he'll solder it back on. There's the old switchblade. You can see where the separator was. So, you know, it's better you find that now than later. Saves a little bit of trouble, and you've got the motorboard out on the bench. Just makes your life a whole lot easier.
So we probably wouldn't have found that until later on.
Until later on, yeah. Finding a switch wouldn't be operating, and you'd be chasing it up. Oh, yeah, it's on 1A. And there's the problem.
Okay.
That's fish paper there he's just putting on. That stops one blade from hitting the other as a matter of precaution. We once had a game in here, I think it was a hot shot, and in the score motor, whatever they'd cleaned it, and it just about disintegrated. Well, not just about, it disintegrated every piece of fish paper.
Perished. Yeah, just straight away, just like it ate it apart.
So we had to be really careful. We had to replace some, and others we didn't, because we didn't have any fish paper at the time, and just had to make sure that it wasn't possible for the back of one blade to hit the front of another, or vice versa.
Yep.
That's a switchblade strengthener he's putting on now.
Yep.
All right, so there it is, all back in place. Now, when he turns the cam, he wants to make sure that all the switches got a bit of pressure on them.
That's the one that was missing.
Outside one is probably a little bit gapped too wide. It could probably get a little bit closer, and we'll just adjust that. That's better. Look at that, they've all got good pressure on them.
And that's why you make this adjustment a bit wider, because these ones have got the strengthener on it. So you need,
we widen them up a bit.
Yeah.
Now, we'll put the rest of those stacks back on, and then we'll grease the edge of the cam. Always put a little bit of light grease on the edge of the cam.
PBR.
Just use the PBR grease.
Very good.
And that'll run onto the edge of the dogs and doesn't wear the dogs out so much. So just a little bit more work to go now.
I'll just double check, I'm pretty...
So there it is. There's the whole score motor completely reassembled. The thing to do is recheck all your switches are operating correctly by turning the cam.
Yep.
And visually
and see their level as
looking at things, making sure all the stacks are level, tugging those wires like we showed you to make sure nothing's going to fall off, and looking for things visually. As we just found a moment ago, the switch separator was gone. Now, this has been rather a long video, and I appreciate a lot of people may not have watched it to the end, and I do emphasise again, you don't have to necessarily do this yourself unless you want to, but I suggest you have a reasonable amount of experience before you attempt it, because it is a little bit daunting for some people. Well, thanks so much for watching. We greatly appreciate your support. Don't forget to consider subscribing. If you enjoyed this video, give us the thumbs up, and maybe consider contributing to our cause by giving us a super thanks. Okay, this has been another Goat Shed presentation.